Alright, figure I might try going live for this update video. So I just had lunch, so I'm just kind of hanging out here. But so kind of the update is that we've been negotiating on this lease for a while, and so it's been probably, I would say, at least about 2 months of negotiations, and so we kind of kept going back and forth, and so there's just a couple of things that we weren't coming to an agreement on, and so eventually we found some middle ground, and I officially signed the lease, and so I am officially now the owner of that space, and I take full possession of the retail space in Surprise, Arizona on April 1st. I have several contractors that are coming out to give me estimates on the build out, and I don't think it's actually going to be too large of a build out, because it's got these 2 large rooms, a really large consult room and a really large treatment room. But so the original plan was to take those 2 rooms and turn it into 3, but after I got the measurements of those rooms, I realized quickly that if I split those 3 rooms into 2, they would only be 7.5 feet wide apiece, and it would be like going into a coffin. So I was like, well, you can't do that. But there is a workroom in the back that is actually a perfect space for putting in an x-ray and for putting in some exam table. So I spoken to my x-ray company that I'm financing through to get our x-ray to basically design that room to be the x-ray room. And what that does, which is great, is it does a couple of things. Is it decreases my cost of letting the rooms, because if I had chosen to split the 2 rooms into 3 and I had put the x-ray in one of those rooms, I would have had to let all the walls, because the wall that would have held the x-ray bucky would have been shared with the business next door. But by putting it in the workroom, the wall that the bucky's on goes that wall shares with an alleyway in the back, which means I may not even have to put lead in that wall, which would be great, save a lot of money. And all I would have to do then for my build out would be to change the flooring out in the space in both of the rooms. So the plan right now is to put new carpet in the treatment room and in the consult room, and then to put a blue-gray laminate flooring in the reception area and in the hallway. And then I'll probably put new carpet in the floor of the workroom. And then the plan is to get new paint, to paint the front desk, because the color wouldn't really match very well. And then I'm also thinking about, I had this idea the other day, to do a really cool kind of high-end wallpaper on the hallway wall. And there was a lot of different options. I'm using Wayfair.com. And I found some really cool ones on there that I think will make it look really high-end, and but also comfortable, because the whole point of this clinic is to have a place where it's very professional, yet it's also very comfortable. And I don't want people to feel that they're getting the whole white coat syndrome, where they come in and they're all stressed out because the place is very sterile. And at the same time, also, I'm not trying to have a clinic that looks too comfortable and, to the point, because I've been to some clinics where, their clinic is very old, it's dingy, it's dirty, and I'm trying to make this place feel just like a, like a stress relief, like a breath of fresh air when you come in every time. And I think that we're going to achieve that goal, and I think we're going to achieve it very well. So yes, the space is mine now. So I'm very excited to be moving to Surprise, probably right before the 1st. So I applied for an apartment in Surprise. So I'm still waiting on that to get back so that I can move. And what else? gosh, been doing a lot of work on. I had the logo designed and hit a snafu today where after I had sent this logo to all these different designers to do different things for me for marketing purposes, realized that there wasn't a C in chiropractic on there, so that's kind of a problem. So I've been dealing with that one today. That's been a fun one, but it's going to get fixed pretty quickly, I hope. And some of you may have seen on my Snapchat page that I have also hired a group to create a video intro with my logo, because I am going to have a YouTube channel, and on my website I will have tabs explaining different things that I do. So, if you're not familiar with chiropractic, there is a lot of different techniques in chiropractic, and there's a lot of opinions in chiropractic, and what is really happening to the human body, and what is the real proper way to correct these issues. And I don't tell people my story a lot with chiropractic of, how did I come to doing this chiropractic technique called ABC, because there had been other techniques that I explored. So I, what I did was I started school, started the doctorate program at Northwestern Health Sciences University in Bloomington, and I just immediately started to dive into learning technique. And you're not supposed to do that until you're about a year in, but I figured at that time, I'm like, this is the most important thing that I'm going to have to know how to do before I leave. So I wanted to start immediately. So I started exploring different techniques, and what I found was this: no matter what technique I had that I was trying out, they always promised me the world and then under-delivered. Always. They would say, well, this is the technique, the other one that you were looking at, that's not the one. This is the one. This one works on everybody. This one fixes all these complicated cases. This one does this one does that. And I would say, okay. And so I would try it. And I would try it for, some of them I tried for years. Other ones I only tried very shortly because I could already tell that it wasn't better than what I had been doing at the time. But I'd always try it, and what I always found was that what I was promised was not true, and that was extremely frustrating to have that. And so I would just pour. I don't even know. I can't honestly tell you how many thousands and thousands of hours I spent in my own spare time, right? Because during the program I was taking about 32 credits a trimester, which is accelerated. It was a year-round curriculum, 32 credits most of the time, every 4 months. And so it was very intense, and so I was spending like 16 hours a weekend studying, besides all the insane amount of hours I was spending during the week studying all the sciences and things. But then in that little squeaks of hours of spare time, I spent and dedicated all that time to trying to figure out what it was that connected everybody, because I knew that there had to be an answer as to why do we all get these problems? Why do we all get these headaches? Why do we all get this low back pain? Why do we get these mechanically induced symptoms like constipation or diarrhea or anxiety or heart palpitations? Things that we know can be caused by neurological problems, that aren't autoimmune, right? Because a lot of times people think, well, if there's a neurological issue, it's got to be autoimmune, but that's not true. We know that mechanically, if something goes wrong that disturbs a nerve, that it decreases the communication and causes neurological symptomatology. That is a known factual cause. And so I was so frustrated, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I got to the last year of school, right before the last year, I'd say. I had about a year and some change left before I was going to graduate. And I was at this point where the technique that I had been doing at the time was the best one that I could come up with. It had been the best one that had seemed to have been the most specific. It had seemed to have been the one that had the most X-ray analysis, where they were actually doing a lot of in-depth analysis of people's spines on X-ray. And I actually ended up being the president of the club that taught that technique for about over a year. But that didn't stop my search. I continued to search for what is the answer, because even teaching that technique and doing that technique on patients and getting some results, I still knew that it wasn't the answer. And there came a situation where that technique actually made me significantly worse. I actually started getting full spinal tingling from the back of my head all the way down to my tailbone. And that would happen probably, it was very intermittent. Sometimes, in the middle of the day, sometimes, every, once a week, sometimes once every other day, and I knew it wasn't something that was going to kill me or anything, but I knew that it was caused by that technique in chiropractic. And I made this connection where I was made worse by any type of chiropractic. And so I knew there was something wrong with the direction of which chiropractors were pushing bones. I knew that there was something wrong with that direction. And I couldn't figure it out. And so I read a book by a neurosurgeon called Dr. Alf Brieg. He was a neurosurgeon who basically did a ton of research, wrote 3 textbooks. He wrote a book in the 70s, a book in the 80s-ish, and a book in the early 90s. And what he found, because granted, he was a neurosurgeon, right? So he's not a chiropractor, so he's not thinking of how do I influence the nervous system by moving the structure. Okay? He is thinking, how do I influence the nervous system by doing a surgery? Right? So he has a different perspective, but the funny thing is he ends up describing what a subluxation is without saying the term. So what he found was that as bones of the spine are in a forward position, and you can imagine this for yourself, right? If you sit here and you relax, you take a breath in, and you let your body slump, what you're going to notice is you're going to go forward. Your head's going to curl, your chest is going to collapse in, your shoulders are going to roll forward, and it's not going to feel good. If you hold that position for more than a minute, you're going to quickly get pain in your back, you're going to start getting a headache, you're going to get some brain fog, okay? And the reason that is when that occurs, the spinal cord that's inside of your spine, that's housed within the spine, it gets stretched, okay? It gets stretched like this. Because remember, a spinal cord, if you don't know what a spinal cord is, it's literally the most important organ in your body, okay? It is the connector between your brain, down through your brainstem, down through your spine, and then out from the spinal cord comes the exiting nerves that supply everything. And by everything, I mean every cell in the body. Your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, down to the smallest cell, your digestion, okay? And so what he found was that, because remember, we're talking about this forward action, okay? And if you look at really old people, you'll see they're all curled like this. They're on their little walker, right? And they usually got their head shake, right? Because their body, the reason you get this head shake is because the body is trying to increase communication back up to the brain to let these elderly people know where they are. That's why they fall over all the time, right? Everybody wants to blame everything on Parkinson's and all this stuff. And that stuff is very true, right? But that's a toxic environment problem. That's because of heavy metals and breathing in all this, this awful toxins, right? That's what that is. But on top of that, as another layer, okay, is this tension that gets built on your spinal cord and your brainstem when you get stuck in this forward position. And that's what they call text neck, right? That's why the younger people, right, in your 20s now, or 15-year-olds, sometimes, and this is the scary thing, I see like 10-year-olds, okay, whose head is so like a turtle, okay, more than elderly people now. And they're only like 10 or 12. It's bad. And when you see this, or you feel this yourself, and you feel this pain back here in those muscles, the reason you feel that pain is because you're going forward. That was the connection. I read this Alf Brieg book, okay, and what he did is he invented a surgery where what he did is he would, and it's brutal, okay, which is why I'm so glad you can fix this conservatively, but what he invented was a surgery where he would slice open the back of your neck, he would put a ribbon in the back of the neck, and he would put 2 screws in the back of your skull, and he would pull that ribbon, and he would fuse your head into this position with your chin up, and then like this. This would be you. You wouldn't be able to tuck your chin. Now, why did he do that? Because remember, when you go forward like this, it tensions your spinal cord and your brainstem. But if you bring your head back like this, okay, it slackens it. He did research on cadavers, on human beings, and what he found is that when you actually bring the body back into a good posture, when you bring the head like that, it literally slackens your spinal cord. It decreases the tension, and what that does is that increases the communication. Okay, people who have extremely bad tension in their spinal cords, okay, they develop a syndrome. It's called tethered cord syndrome. You can read up on that. And what happens when you have tethered cord syndrome is you get severe neurological symptoms, okay, deathly symptoms that can kill you. You lose bowel and bladder function, you lose the strength in your legs, you lose the sensation and feeling in your legs, you can get extreme pain, you can get extremities that are all twisted up, kind of like cerebral palsy, okay, and that's an emergency. You literally have to go to the ER to go into surgery to cut out the scar tissue in your spine, okay. So let me kind of backtrack a bit here. So remember, we're talking about this forwardness, this forward action causing this spinal tension, right? This spinal cord tension on you. Okay, he invents the surgery, right? Well, here's the crazy thing, okay? So this is where it all comes full circle, right? With my issue of all this other chiropractic I had observed and had done on me. This was the moment. I was about to just go invent my own technique, okay? Because I knew... And I know that sounds ridiculous because there's already all these different techniques and everybody thought they could find the answer, but I knew they were all wrong, and I couldn't put my finger on it. All I knew was that they were pushing bones the wrong way. I just knew it. I just didn't know what to do about it or what it really meant. So then there was a guy named Jesse Jukowitz. He came up with this chiropractic technique called ABC, Advanced Biostructural Correction. You can go to the website www.meningeorelease.com to learn more about that. He's got videos explaining this. But what he did is he had actually read the same exact research that I did. Okay? And what he discovered was that this simple premise, this connecting premise that every single person has as a fact. Okay? Anybody, I challenge anyone to disprove this fact for me at any point. So, imagine your back, right? All the muscles of your back, okay, run parallel to your spine. So you can feel it right now. They run parallel to the spine, vertically, okay? You got all these different muscles in there, all these different layers, right? You have muscles to turn your bones this way, left and right. You have muscles in there that can turn your bones this way, okay? You have muscles that can pull your bones forward and down, okay? You have muscles that can pull your bones down in the back, but you do not physically have a muscle that can pull a vertebra straight backwards. You just don't. That is the simple answer of what connects all of us as to why you need chiropractic care, for one, but two, that is the exact mechanism of what happens. So how do you fix that, right? Think about it. There's no muscle in existence there that, say, if you're looking at the spine from the side here, if a bone gets knocked forwards, sinks down like that, you start getting that curled forward posture, which we see in the elderly, right? The elderly, okay, are no different than you and I. It's just that they've gone down years down the line of having these bones get constantly knocked forward, more and more and more of them. And then it builds scar tissue, which I'll talk about in a second, okay? But right, that bone gets knocked forward, and what happens is then all the bones above that have to try to make up for it, because now all those bones above that bone are forwards. Think about that. You've now shifted the foundation. They all have to cope with that foundation. So what happens? The body spasms all the muscles of your back to try to bring you back to a okay posture, right? But it can't fix the issue. So what can it do? Your body can rotate bones, like I said. Your body can put bones this way, right? It can do these other motions, and so it does. which is why when we take an x-ray of a spine, you will almost never see a perfect spine on someone when you take an x-ray. It'll have all of these curves like scolioses, which we'll talk about. It'll have all these rotated bones. It'll have and specifically, a lot of bones that are turned down. Why? Because we just said when a bone gets knocked forward, your other bones have to compensate. So they will turn themselves down and try to lean you back. That's it. So how do you fix that? With ABC, okay, Advanced Biostructural Correction Technique, we move bones backwards. We create a lever with our hand and we position the body of the patient to be able to use that engineering principle in order to bring bones backwards. And what happens when you do that, and if you go to my Facebook webpage, if you go to my Facebook webpage for my doctor's page, Dr. Patrick Bain, DC, I have a picture on there of actual ABC patients and their instant posture changes, okay, that happen after one treatment, 10 minutes later. After only 10 minutes, with ABC, you can make posture changes that are so incredible, and this happens all the time, that other chiropractors, PTs, medical doctors, people don't believe it's real. They look at that picture, and they look at pictures that I take of my patients, of their posture, literally before I adjust them, and 10 minutes later, and they thought I made them up. They thought I doctored the picture. Because it's that crazy, because no one else has done that. But the reason that no one else creates those posture changes is because they're pushing bones the wrong way. If you've ever been adjusted by a chiropractor before, a regular chiropractor, or even chiropractors who say their technique is so different and so special, okay, what is the connecting factor that they all do? They put you face down on the table and they push your bones forward. They actually are making you worse even if you feel better. Okay, because what happens when you push a bone more forward is your body now is so forward in that area, it has to completely shift your entire spine around, okay, to compensate. And so what you might get, right, is you might get a shifting of where the pressure is to a different area, and now you don't have as much pain. But you've made them worse in the long run. You're worse in the long run, which is why when I was getting adjusted, I started getting that full spine tingling. I had been pushed so forward that the tension on my brainstem was so great, it was actually causing full body symptoms down my entire spinal cord. So let's talk about the scar tissue. So that was the first thing that he discovered, which is huge. Honestly, if he wasn't a chiropractor and he had been, say, a neurosurgeon or someone else, you would literally get some type of large scientific, like a Nobel Peace Prize discovery for that. It is that large because it connects all of us, everybody. It is the flaw of the human body, but it was a necessary flaw, right? We have to have our muscles parallel. It's not physically possible to have them any other way, right? We're designed as aerodynamic and as capable as possible, right? But back to the scar tissue. The second thing that what happens in this process is after these bones go forward and your bones have compensated, right? Your other bones have compensated. They create these large curves of the spine. They rotate, they come downwards. Whatever they got to do, they do to take pressure and tension off your spinal cord. But what it then does, okay, because your body's intelligent, right? There's an innate intelligence of the body. Your body thinks to itself, okay, well, we can't fix this problem. What are we going to do to try to make this a safer place? Well, what it does is it'll actually build scar tissue on the inside of your spine, between your spinal cord and the inside of the bones. It will literally fuse your nervous system to the inside of your vertebra in order to stabilize the spine to keep you from going more forward. That's why you see elderly people, right? And as I mentioned, elderly people are just they're just the accentuated versions of you, right? They've just gone longer amount of time with this damage. Okay, so what happens is that's why they get so stiff. That's why you see people, the old elderly people, so forward, and they're shaking because of the cord tension, and their spine. If you feel their backs, they have these huge humps, and they are rock solid. I mean, you could take a baseball bat to that back, it's not gonna move. It's so stiff. That is why it's so stiff. The body has laid down so much scar tissue on the inside. See, that's the thing. A lot of people, including the vast majority of chiropractors, physical therapists, medical doctors, and yes, even neurosurgeons, do not know that scar tissue builds within the spine, between the spine and the spinal cord. And it'll be on my website. I actually have cadaver pictures of what this scar tissue looks like within actual human spines. So this isn't just me saying conjecture and making this stuff up. It is factually there. And there was a study that was done by a neurosurgeon who found this scar tissue. It's called meningeal scar tissue. He found it in the low back of a lot of patients, and he actually did a study where he had 7 patients who had, remember, if you remember earlier, the tethered cord syndrome. His name is Dr. Yamada. You may be able to find a study. It's very difficult, and I do think there's a reason for that, is because the results of what happened. So there's 7 patients. They had tethered cord syndrome. They had loss of bowel and bladder function. They had numbness and tingling down the legs. They had muscle weakness in one or both legs. They had muscle shrinkage or muscle atrophy in one or both legs. All 7 had scoliosis, which is just large curvatures in the spine, okay, to the side like this. Okay, all 7 had that. So what he did is he took his x-ray first, took their symptoms down, did the surgery where he just went in there, took a scalpel, and he cut the scar tissue out of the spine. Just in the lumbar spine, he cut this meningeal scar tissue called the meningeal adhesions. Cut it out, took them back out, sewed them up, re-x-rayed them. This is how crazy this is, and this is why when people tell you they don't know, this scoliosis, right, they say, well, there's idiopathic scoliosis and there's congenital. Okay, congenital meaning that you have some bones that are malformed that then are adding to the scoliosis. Idiopathic, which is, I think, is the most ridiculous term that's ever been created for healthcare. Idiopathic means I don't know. Literally. Idiopathic means we have no idea why you have that. So if you've ever been diagnosed with idiopathic blah, 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 means we don't know whatever you got, osis. Okay? So they say we don't know the cause of scoliosis, okay? But in this study, after he cut the scar tissue out and took the new films immediately after surgery, scoliosis reduced in all 7 patients. Every single one of those 7 patients who had that meningeal scar tissue removed had an immediate reduction, noticeable reduction on x-ray of their scoliosis. So what does that tell you? That tells you that if I take an x-ray of your spine and I see scoliosis, I know that you, 1, have scar tissue somewhere in your spine. I can't tell you where. I know you have scar tissue somewhere within the spine, meningeal scar tissue that needs to be removed. And 2, I know you have forward bones and that your body's having to compensate for them. Because if it didn't, right, if you didn't have a bunch of forward bones and you didn't have meningeal scar tissue, I would take that x-ray and your spine would look great. It would be straight right there. There wouldn't be any scolioses in it. And then when I took the picture from the side, you'd have all the proper curves. But you don't, right? And so here's the results of after he did the surgery, right? Besides the fact how crazy it is that all the scoliosis reduced, okay? That's huge already. The vast majority of patients, okay, and by vast majority, I mean everybody within about 3 months had a full recovery of bowel and bladder function, had a full recovery of strength in their legs, had a full recovery of sensation, of anywhere of loss of sensation in the lower body, full recovery of all symptoms. All he did was get rid of meningeal scar tissue. That is one of the most pivotal studies that you will never hear about. That is one of the most pivotal discoveries, just like we talked about earlier, right, where that these bones go out of place in directions where there's no muscle or combination of muscles that can put them back into the proper position. This is Nobel Prize winning stuff that you will never hear about. Why? I can only do conjecture on that, okay? Sadly, I think there is a lot of money to be made in ignorance, okay? And that's just, especially in healthcare, that's just a fact, okay? So in ABC, what do we do besides move bones of the spine backwards, right? Because we talked about how there's no muscle that can pull a vertebra backwards, no muscle or combination that has that capability. So we do that for you. The second thing we do with ABC that no one else is doing is what's called a meningeal release. And what that is, it is a full body stretch, okay, that we do specific to you and your case that releases that scar tissue we just talked about without a surgery, okay? Now, if I'm going to be honest, am I going to say it's a joy to get them? No, it's not. It's not enjoyable to get them. But is it necessary? Absolutely. I have probably had several hundred of them done to me, okay? So a lot of people get worried, well, is that going to be safe? Yeah, it's absolutely safe, okay? I've gotten hundreds on me, okay? And I've done hundreds on others. The results that you get when you release that scar tissue, it's amazing. It is the most incredible thing I have ever witnessed in my entire life, and I truly mean that, okay? And when I got my first meningeal release and my first ABC adjustment, my acid reflux went down by 30% that day. I've had reflux my entire life, okay? I have reflux when I would drink water before ABC. I would drink water before ABC, I would literally get acid reflux, okay? That's not normal. That's not supposed to happen, okay? My first ABC adjustment, my acid reflux went down by 30%. And the crazy thing about that, okay, the crazy thing about this forward posture that gets created by bones getting knocked forwards is that not only do you get this tension in your brainstem and your spinal cord that pulls literally on your brain, okay, not only do you get that, the second thing that you get is your chest cavity, okay, compresses down on your heart and lungs and on your stomach, because remember, your stomach's right here. It sits right underneath your rib cage. So as you go forwards like this, right, especially if you're someone that does a job where you sit all day, you're curled like that, your rib cage is pressing on your stomach all day. Your rib cage is pressing on your heart all day. Your rib cage is pressing on your lungs all day. What are some of the 3 biggest issues that the elderly have? Acid reflux, heart problems, breathing trouble. That, like I said, elderly people are just an accentuation of you and I. Why do you see all these elderly people on oxygen tanks? They weren't on oxygen tanks 10 years ago. What was the change? Well, I can tell you one thing. 10 years ago, they weren't half as curled over as they would be at that point. They hit the point where they're literally so forward, they have so many forward bones, so much scar tissue, so much compression of their heart, lungs, and stomach that they can't breathe, they can't eat, and they start to develop atherosclerosis. They did a study that showed, and this was a huge study, this was multiple thousands of elderly people. The elderly people with the worst posture, and worst posture meaning most forward, most curled over, died much more often of all-cause mortality, meaning of all types of reasons. Secondly, the most common reason that they died of, much more beyond the average elderly person, okay, these people who had the worst posture, what did they die of? Heart problems. They died most often of atherosclerosis and heart problems because there's a pressure of your chest directly on your heart. This is the most incredible discovery, you guys, and I can't tell you enough about why ABC Chiropractic, out of all of the insane amounts of techniques that I have explored and continue to explore, okay, why ABC is what you need, why ABC is what everybody needs to be getting. It's just the facts. I can't, and I'm always open to change my mind. If something better than ABC comes along, I will switch like that, okay? But the problem is, like I said, everyone else is pushing bones forward. You don't have any way to fix that problem. If a bone is backwards, or a bone is rotated, or a bone is down on this side like that, your body has a muscle to fix all of that. But why doesn't it? You see, that is the big question, right, that no one else has been able to answer. Why does it, when I take an x-ray, I know, right, if I see a bone that's rotated, I know the body has a muscle to undo that, but it chooses not to. It chooses not to intelligently. And so that is one of the reasons, right, that we've been talking about why regular chiropractic, it just doesn't make sense. That's why when you go to a regular chiropractor and they say, oh, you've got a rotated bone here, and they unrotate it. Well, what happens a week later when you come back? Okay, the bone's rotated again. We got to put it back again. Right? It was the same problem for me. That's what happened to me. And I was frustrated when I was adjusting people that was happening. Right? So, two big indicators, two key things to take home today that I talked about, remember. Bones go out of alignment in a direction that the body has no muscle or combination of muscle to correct it. Secondly, the body builds scar tissue within your spine that binds your spinal cord to the inside of your bones. Take those two things home with you today, because you will know more about the human body than the vast majority of neurosurgeons, medical doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists. I don't care who it is. You will already know more than they do about what goes wrong with the human body mechanically, period. So like I said, the best thing for you is to get ABC. And once my website is up, it's not up yet. I have to pay somebody to get the website up. But the website is going to be www.springbackchiro.com. Okay, my email though is already working, so you can email me at info@springbackchiro.com. Okay, on my Patrick Bain DC Facebook page, I do have that information on there, and I actually do on the story have some of kind of talking about those mechanisms. But yeah, so if you're curious about getting ABC care, like I said, you can go to meningeorelease.com and you can go to the provider map and find someone, or I would be more than happy to see any of you at my clinic in Surprise, Arizona, when we're open. I'm hoping to be open in a month and a half, hopefully no more than 2 months. But I really highly encourage you to think about what I said today. Go back and watch if this video, hopefully this video records and posts to the page permanently. I don't know if it does, but I would highly encourage you to go back, watch it again, and think about it. I mean, really honestly think about it. And if you want a physical test, okay, to prove what I'm saying is true, try this for me. I don't know if you can right now or you can later, but physically do this for me. Stand, outside with a good posture. Chest is up, your head's back, right? Chin's up. Take a nice breath in and just feel what that feels like, okay? Move your head around in all directions and see what that feels like. Then what I want you to do is I want you to take a nice big breath in and let your body slump. Let your body go. Let all these muscles back here relax, okay? Because what's going to happen is, because you haven't gotten ABC care, you're going to collapse like this. You're going to go so forward. Your head's going to drop. Your chest is going to curl in. And I want you to stay in that position. I don't want you to try to take a nice breath in again, staying in that position. You're not going to be able to. Your breath is going to be so small. Your head's going to start to hurt after a couple minutes. You will immediately notice that difference. Okay? Next thing I want you to do is I want you to feel right here. So right here where your clavicle touches your chest wall, I want you to feel that. I guarantee on 9 out of 10 people who may have watched this video who actually do that, 9 out of 10 of you are going to have a tender spot there on both sides. It's going to be really tender right here on the clavicle and really tender right here on the head of the clavicle. That is direct proof that you are so forward that your clavicle is literally pushing into your sternum so hard that you have inflammation there. That's why this hurts here. Mine, I've got enough ABC now, luckily, and I'm very thankful for that. I thank God for that every day that I found ABC, and I may be able to also change other chiropractors to doing ABC. But if you press right here, mine, it doesn't hurt at all anymore. I have no inflammation here because my clavicles are now sitting the way that they're supposed to, because I'm not like this anymore. I stand like this. And the reality is, right, if you go to my page and you see that picture of those before and after postures of patients, okay, if you go there and you look at that, and if you took pictures of yourself right now, okay, and I encourage you to do this too, because this one will show you really what I'm talking about, is have your spouse, have a friend, whoever, your family member, take a picture of you from the side, okay, like from the side like this, okay, where you take that nice big breath in and let your body slump and relax, and then stay in that spot, have them snap a picture of you, okay, and when you look at that picture, your head is going to be jutted forward, your chest is going to be collapsed, your clavicles are going to be doing exactly what I said they are about why you have inflammation here. They're going to be pressing into here. Your shoulders are going to be rolled forward, and it's not going to look good. And that is a more accurate representation of what your posture actually is. A lot of people who take posture pictures, okay, take them with people just standing like this, and they have all their muscles activated. Because remember, we talked about earlier, when you have these bones that go forwards, your muscles of your back spasm to bring you backwards, right? So that's why nobody notices this issue, because we have our back muscles firing all the time to compensate for this issue. That's why you get all these pains in the back of your head, right? Because those muscles are so spasmed trying to keep you like this, right? But if you actually let those go, that shows you how your spine really is right now, and it's not good. And you don't want that tension on your spinal cord. Because here was the thing, if you remember Alf Brieg, right, the one I told you about, the neurosurgeon from the 70s, 80s, 90s, wrote 3 books, he found and took patients with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, okay? Lou Gehrig's disease is supposed to be a death sentence, okay? There is no cure for Lou Gehrig's disease as of right now, okay? You go ask any neurosurgeon, you go ask any neurologist, anybody. If you get Lou Gehrig's disease, it is a death sentence. You will be dead within months to maybe a year if you're lucky. Multiple sclerosis, which is on the rise. ALS and multiple sclerosis are some of the fastest growing autoimmune diseases of today, besides lupus. Okay? So what Alf Brieg did was he did that surgery he created, right? Bringing the head back, right? Slackening the spinal cord, okay? He was getting rid of multiple sclerosis and ALS on everyone. Everyone who had ALS and MS who walked into his office who received that surgery within weeks had full resolution of those symptoms. And in fact, in one of the cases, okay, he had a person with Lou Gehrig's who got the surgery, whose Lou Gehrig's went away, okay? But it's very hard to keep this perfectly fused, right, in the back of your head, right, with that ribbon, okay? His ribbon, okay, his surgery got partly undone because he went and got physical therapy, and they bent his head forward. The ribbon tore, okay? He died. That man literally died the second that they undid this man's surgery from Lou Gehrig's disease, proving that what caused and killed that man, his Lou Gehrig's, was spinal cord tension. Now you might be wondering to yourself, okay, you're telling me I've got this tension in my spinal cord, you're telling me I have these forward bones, you're telling me I have these scar tissue adhesions. Why am I not dying, right? Why am I not dead today? Why is it that these other people who have the extreme examples, right, the tethered cord syndrome people, the MS, the ALS case people, right? And remember that those diseases have multiple factors, okay? I'm not denying that. There's a lot of environmental toxicity, there's genetics, there's a whole lot of things. All I'm saying is that one of the causes and one of the contributing factors is mechanical. It just is. Okay? But you're asking yourself, why is it that my symptoms are minuscule? Why am I just getting maybe some back pain? Why is it maybe I'm just getting some neck pain? Why is it maybe I just get a little brain fog? You know? Why is it maybe I'm just a little constipated or diarrhea-y or bloated? You know, why is it that maybe I just get a little tingling down my arm into my hands during the day and they diagnose me with carpal tunnel, right? Why is it that you just get that and those people get it super severe? Well, it's a spectrum, right? The only difference between you and that person with tethered cord syndrome, okay, is severity. Okay, your scar tissue and forward bones, okay, have been built and compensated for, right? And they have some kind of balance. They have a neutral balance to the point where, you know, the tension on your brainstem isn't that bad because your body compensated pretty well for it. You have a healthy body that did a good job as best as it could, right? Couldn't fix it, but it compensated for it. But the people who have MS, ALS with mechanical cause, right? Not the other cause, but mechanical, right? Or the tethered cord syndrome, which we know is caused by this. Those people have it worse than you do. That's all it is. It's a spectrum of severity, right? We're not all built the same. We don't all have the same lifestyle. We don't all have the same genetics, right? They're just worse off, right? That's the difference, right? That's why that's why I had full body spine tingling. And maybe this other guy's asymptomatic. Maybe another patient has this process going on, and they may totally have no symptoms all the way up till they're 50, and boom, then it hits. And all of a sudden, they have all these things, right? Because their body was so good at compensating, and then eventually it kept going, and it hit the knife edge, and it went over, right, when they hit 50. You see that too. You can't predict it. But that's why you should get checked by an ABC doctor for these things. So if you're ever in Arizona and you want to get evaluated, okay, I will honor to do a 3-day evaluation of your body. I will take films of your spine and I will analyze them with ABC's methods. I will look at heart rate variability, which you can go Google on Google that Harvard has several studies on how heart rate variability is a huge predictor of health. Specifically for your heart health, but also your overall health. Heart rate variability, thermography, okay, which you can look up. I use what's called a Titron scanner, okay, and I also track the changes in that pre and post adjustment, instant changes, not just one change that happened 12 visits later, but literally I can do it the second I finished adjusting you, and I can take a new scan and I can see the change immediately, okay. Full muscular, neurological, skeletal examination, all of that. I will do that for $20 for anyone who wants to. Okay, why do I charge $20? Why don't I just give it away for free? Well, the reality is I don't give anything away for free, okay? Because chiropractic is so important that everybody should get evaluated by a good ABC chiropractor. Everybody, right? So I don't give anything away for free, but $20 is basically free because literally the x-rays alone. Okay, if you went and got the x-rays that I take, because I take a good amount, because I want to see your entire spine, okay? I don't want to see just a little smidgen little portion, right? Like a lot of people take x-rays of the spine, chiropractors, and they take this little small portion because they're afraid that they might see other things, right? They're afraid that their education isn't good enough, right? So that if they see something, they're responsible for it. And they're worried that they'll get sued if they miss something. Not me, okay? I am a doctor of chiropractic, and I'm proud, and I spend a lot of time, thousands of hours on x-ray to familiarize myself not only with pathologies but with the things I'm looking for chiropractically, okay? So I'm not afraid. I look at the whole spine, not only from the front but from the side, and that alone, if you went to, a regular imaging center and you paid cash for that, you would be paying at least $3,000 for it. So I'm literally, just off of that alone, doing that for $20. That's crazy, but that's because I have so much passion about healing patients and helping patients achieve their goals of health and fixing this issue and getting this issue out there, because therapists, medical doctors, neuros, they don't know anything about this. They don't know about the scar tissue. They don't know about the spinal cord tension. They don't know about bones going forward because there's no muscle or combination of muscles that can pull it back into place. They don't know that information. And I want to help you. I want to help me. I want to help you. I want to help everybody. Okay? So I know that was a pretty fiery spot, but I get really fired up about that because a lot of people are purposefully ignorant of this issue. Okay? Because I have told many doctors, besides myself, about this and told them to try it out. I've told them to go read the research. They don't do it. People don't do it because they have too much pride and they don't care enough about their patients to learn about this and to try it, just to try it, because it scares them that there might be some knowledge that they don't know. Okay, so I just wanted to help you guys. I just want to make that video, and I wanted to update everybody. So like I said, April 1st, I'm taking possession of the space. I'm hoping that the build out will be quick and the pre-marketing for that business, that practice will be quick. So I'm hoping to be open in a month and a half to 2 months. I'll keep you guys updated on that. Also look out for my Spring Back Chiropractic YouTube channel. I will be making videos on all sorts of health topics. One of the first ones is going to be about this. It's going to be about ABC, about this problem, right? ABC versus regular chiropractic. and I'm going to be making other videos on things about nutrition, because I do, it's called functional nutrition, so I'll be talking about that. And I plan on making a video that says top 10 things that tell you you're going to a bad chiropractor, because there's a heck of a lot out of them out there, and I don't want you to go to a bad chiropractor. I want you to go to a good one, because when you go to a good chiropractor, right, who recognizes the neurological component of the body going wrong, that's who you want to see. You don't want to be seeing the guy who's out there telling you it's all about a lack of motion in the spine. That's all phooey. Okay, throw that out there. Okay, that's not what it's about. It's about the neurological component and your health. All right, thank you. God bless you. Please go to my Facebook page. Please send me an email at info@springbackchiro.com if you have any questions. Okay, I have no problem taking the time to email you back and explain this to you. And if you want, and I hope you do, please come to the grand opening when I open my clinic. And if you want to get evaluated, I will honor it for $20 if you call and you say, I watched the Dr. Bain video, and he said that he'll discount his consult to $20. Okay, I will honor that for you because I care that much, and there's no expiration on that. Bye.